Hello and welcome back everyone to the next episode on anubhavtrainings.com. In this episode, we are going to look at one of the important questions recently asked by many of you, that if you are trying to subscribe to SAP Build WorkZone service to integrate your ABAP on cloud applications or CAPM applications or build apps or build processes in the BTP account, you are facing a weird error. The error is coming while subscribing to Build WorkZone service in the free trial. We will see what is this error all about and how can you fix this error by configuring the identity and access service in the BTP account. So let's use a fresh BTP account to see what is the issue you are facing in SAP Build WorkZone service and how do you fix it. So let's get started. Please do like, share and subscribe this video with your friend and colleagues. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you will get notified for free videos like this on our channel. Go to the sub account, and once we land up to the sub account, we go to services, instance and subscriptions. And here is where we will subscribe to SAP Build WorkZone service. So I click on create button, build WorkZone service, and we will be choosing here the subscription option. Now, guys, one recent update from SAP is starting 8th of April 2025. It is mandatory that we subscribe to SAP Identity and Access Management Service in order to use the Build WorkZone service and establish a trust with our sub account with Identity and Access Management Service. I will show you that once I try to create the Build WorkZone service. So I click on create button. You can see here the SAP Build WorkZone service instance is getting created now, and we will see the result whether it gets created or not successfully. So you can see currently it is processing. We just have to wait and watch what exactly does the system tell us. So now you can see that the SAP Build WorkZone service subscription has been filled. If I click on view details, I will get to know a lot of interesting information. It says that you must have to subscribe to an identity and authentication tenant to the sub account to establish the trust. So what is identity access management service and why do we need to use that? So let's try and understand that first. So if I come back to explain you what is exactly identity and access management and why do we need it, why we need identity access management service, what is that service and why do we need that? So imagine in a company you have taken SAP BTP subscription in your company, and your company is now building lot of applications, processes, or integrating with third party applications. So all the applications will be accessed through the build work zone. So at build work zone, we will get lot of tiles like this, and clicking on these tiles will take you to some application or will take you to start a process or will take you to a deployed Fiori application. Yes. Now this is configured by you as a developer. So you have a developer account in the BTP platform. Once you develop and deploy application, they are accessed via build work zone. But what about end users? Yeah. So the number of end users will be huge. So let's say imagine in a company which is a large corporation like let's say Nestle or Colgate, yeah, or a pharmaceutical company, the number of developers are around 10 developers, but the number of end users are around let's say 5,000. So do you think the company who bought SAP BTP subscription, do they need to enroll all these 5,000 users as active users in the SAP as part of your BTP account? Imagine the cost per user you will incur. It's huge. So of course, when it comes to accessing our application, we need these users, and we don't want to pay for these users to SAP that, hey, SAP, I want 5,000 BTP users. Of course, SAP will charge you. It's going to become very expensive for you. So in this situation, what do? You still don't want to have or authenticate these people, these end users, as a BTP user. So typically what happens in your company, you have something called a identity and access management software. For example, single sign-on. So whenever user try to access, let's say Outlook, so what happens, the Outlook will redirect the user to a login screen, which is offered by your single sign-on or IAM management software. User will then enter their username password there, and once they authenticated, the IAM software will allow you to access the respective application. So that way, the entire user management is centralized in any company. Similarly, for SAP BTP, if your end user is trying to access build WorkZone, they also need to authenticate themselves with a login screen. Now that login screen comes from IAM, identity and access management. Plus, also we have to register all these 5,000 functional users. We need to manage them. We need to manage their name, user ID, password, their role, their permission in the company, everything. So for that, we need a IAM software. Now, good news is SAP BTP also offer this capability in terms of identity and access management service. Now, it is mandatory starting April 2025 that you first subscribe to this IAM service. Connect this IAM service to the same BTP sub account. Yeah, here with which your build work zone is connected. So your sub account has to bind the IAM service plus the build work zone also. And then in the IAM service, you can configure as a developer all the end users. Yeah. So this is the reason why now the build work zone service is failing. Yes. So a quick introduction to identity and access management service when it comes to BTP. SAP Cloud Identity Service, also an identity access management service, are the group of services of BTP which enable you to integrate identity and access management between systems. So it is basically a separate service which helps you to integrate with all the other cloud applications by serving you a single entry point for user authentication. So you can also use your existing user store from your on-prem system to register all the username, passwords, and their credentials with identity directory in this service. And then when user logs in, they will be redirected to the corporate identity provider like a login screen of the company, or you can also integrate social identity providers, for example Google, Meta, X, all that sort of. And then once it is done, it provides a quick mapping with your backend user through which you will know who is this actual user is, and then letting the user in to access the cloud application. For example, SAP build workzone service is one of the service. So once you activate the identity and access management service, you have to create yourself as an administrator. So you can use the service to create accounts for other end users in your company. Yeah. So for that, you will also be getting an email to activate your IAM account. Yes, this kind of email you will also get. I will show the whole process now. So let me go back to our sub account in the BTP where the build work zone subscription failed. I will just quickly delete it. I will come back to recreate it again later on. Yes. And now I'm going to go back to click on create and search for SAP identity, cloud identity service. Yeah. That's the one I choose and select a plan as the the default plan, subscription plan. Click on next button. Service type is, you can choose productive, not an issue. Click on create. So now you see a cloud identity service instance subscription is getting created for us. So let's wait for it to be done. And then you need to grant yourself permission. You are the administrator of this account. So you should have permissions to enroll onboard your end users in the company. So that is why you have to now go back to the security users and to our my own user ID. I have to grant role collection to make myself as the sub account service administrator viewer. At least these two roles I have to grant myself. Very important. And then you also go back to the trust configuration, which that issue was telling us. And here you have to establish a secure trust between the identity access management service and our BTP sub account. So service is created, but this service will be utilized by your sub account once you establish a trust. You have to configure this trust. So what I will do, right click and duplicate here. In the meanwhile, go to first tab to go to trust configuration. And I also go back to BTP cockpit, and here I will just go ahead and open my cloud identity service subscription. I will log in with my BTP account ID, login, and it gives me an error. Why it is giving me an error? So you see this login screen is basically a login screen of this new identity access management service. And I am right now myself, though I have started this subscription, I am not myself have a valid user at the moment in this service. So to be able to create yourself as an administrator, so you can use this separate service offered by BTP to register other users. You have to basically register yourself as an administrator, as a administrator. So for that, what would have happened? The moment you created a subscription for cloud identity service, you would have received an email on your inbox. So I go back to my inbox, and yes, you can see I have received an email here, which says that by clicking this link or using this link, you can become the account administrator. Yeah. So that you can access the console. So right click, copy, come back to incognito window where I'm running my account, and I give that link to make myself as an administrator of that IAS service. So I set up my password here. So usually what I do, I keep the same password as the BTP account password. So I will not have confusion. So I will enter that and I register myself as an administrator for that account. And now I can use identity service as an administrator to manage all the users in my company. Yes, so it is now logging into admin console. Wow, look at that. So here is where you can actually see user management tab. So in your company, if you have 5,000 functional users, you don't have to create 5,000 SAP accounts or SAP BTP accounts for them. You can actually register all the users here. You can also import the users from another system. Yes, wow, superb. So I can now go to user management, and if I want to give a user in my company, let's say my company is a manufacturing company. In manufacturing company, there is a manufacturing plant and there is a plant, there is a plant worker or a plant manager. So I would want to now give access of that plant manager to my applications. So what I do, I click on add button. I will put the details of the plant manager. So I will give Ananya ID, and I will give her email ID, my company plant manager. I will give login name, yes, and I can say what type of employee is this. Wow. So I say just an employee, and I can send an invitation email. Superb. I can set a initial password. So next time this user will be able to log in to our build WorkZone service or any of the service to access our applications, build apps, or build processes through the build WorkZone. I'm registering a user. I set an initial password. Let me set that, and I click on add button. Now that user will get an email for onboarding. Wow, superb. And they don't need to create a BTP account or SAP account. They can directly use the account which I've registered here Of course, right now, since we are using SAP Cloud Identity Service, they have to create a SAP Cloud Identity Service account, which is, going to get that SAP screen. Now, one more interesting thing, if you want to attach some branding according to your company, for example, when they see the login screen, when they log in, when the end user login, I want to show them my company logo. So in that case, what I can do, I can also go to the option where I can go to the logos and I can upload my company logo. So I add a company logo, Anubhav Trainings, click on add button. I will browse our company logo. So I go to here, I have some images and I can see there are logos. So I can use any logo. Now the logo has to have a particular size specification. So you must have to follow that size specification. So I add that logo now. Let me browse this logo. Yeah, so I've added a new training logo. I save it. So you remember this train logo. So now this logo I want to use as a default logo when they see login screen. So I can design the login screen also here fully according to my need. So I can go back to the login screen. So applications, and you can see here these are applications, and I can go to branding and layout, and I can go to branding and I can configure now my branding. I can edit and I can configure everything I want. So you can fully design your own custom login screen with the help of this option. So I can go to logos, edit the logo, browse the logo and about trainings, save it. I can also configure email templates. So whenever the user want a reset of password, typically the identity management service will send a reset password link. Yeah. So what content you want to write in that also you can set here. You see email templates. Yes, branding styles. Yeah, you can see email templates. So I want to go default. You can create email templates also. So you can fully configure the login screen according to your requirement in your company. That is the benefit you get with identity service. Now, this identity service should be added to your account, sub account. So whenever user login, they will get a login screen according to your company branding. So for that, you have to go back to your BTP account. Under the trust configuration, create a new identity, configure a new identity provider. Here we have to add it. So that trust we have to establish. So now we will create a establish the trust. So let's click on establish trust button, and you can see that we have got one default domain, and you can see the name. So it has detected your cloud identity service. I select that, click on next button. I'll choose the domain. So there are two of them. Which one to choose? Let's go back to our identity service, and here go to application resources, applications, and you can see admin console, user profile. Go to user profile and you see the URL here. It is my account name dot trial dash accounts dot on demand.com. That's the address. So if you come back, you can see accounts dot on demand.com. The first one, we will select that. Click on next. It has filled all the details and the origin key is SAP custom. Now, if I would have used the Google identity provider, I would have used here Google. Yeah. So right now it is SAP to SAP. So we are using SAP's identity management plus we are using SAP BTP account only. So that's why both are SAP. Click on next button and everything is okay. Click on finish. So this creates now a secure communication trust between our BTP account and our identity account. So that it has done, it's activated now. So next step is now we can go back and create the subscription for SAP Build WorkZone service. So I'm going to go back and click on create SAP Build WorkZone service. I will choose subscription, click on create button, and hopefully this time the subscription will get created, and this subscription would be using the identity and access management service which we configured for login. In the meanwhile, I will go to the Ananya's account and onboard Ananya as a user. So let it continue and we will switch to Ananya's account to enroll Ananya as a user for SAP Identity Service. So I had already received an email on Ananya's email ID. I have also signed up Ananya as a user, and now soon once my build WorkZone service is ready, I would show you how can we connect as Ananya to the build WorkZone site. So we will be first configuring the build WorkZone. You can see this time the subscription was successful. Now I have to first go back to users, and you can see this user anubhav.abap is currently configured as default IDP user. So I have to also add one more user, anubhav.abap@gmail.com, and use my custom identity provider and click on create. Also, I will also create one more with Ananya's email ID, because now I'm referring to the account from the identity provider, my custom identity provider. So I will create that, and now I will grant. So this is my default IDP, which is currently developer's account, and these are my custom IDP for the user's account. And these users will now have permission to access the SAP Build WorkZone service. So that I have to grant. So to the users, we will only assign the Launchpad external user permission. Yes, and yeah, I think that's all we will assign. So click on assign, and also to Ananya assign Launchpad external user role. So they can only access the Launchpad. They cannot edit Launchpad. They cannot create build work zone, new tiles or anything. And then we can click on assign. So they will, the users, my end users, like who is a clerk, who is a customer, who's a employee of the company, they can only view the build work zone. But I am myself with default IDP should be allowed to manage. So Launchpad admin read only, Launchpad advanced theming, and external, all the permissions related to build work zone I'm granting. So basically it's called Launchpad because the build work zone, the old name was Central Fury Launchpad. Yeah, the old name of that project was Central Fury Launchpad. So I sign it now, and now I first as a developer would go and configure my site, default site. So let me go back to instance and subscription and open the build work zone, and there we will see four different sections. I will explain that in a minute. Let it come. So you can see the burger icon. I click and there are four sections. So first section is settings. In the settings section, you can configure your build work zone settings, like you can check notifications, you can do alias mapping with a external system. Suppose you want to integrate from BTP to a external S4HANA system, you can do that mapping. You can check security headers which are sent to the external system when a communication happens to that. You can check the provisioning of IDPs, custom IDPs, what type of authentication mechanism to be used when it comes to your build work zone. Custom domain, if you want to connect this build work zone to a custom website like www.anubhavtrainings.com, if somebody type, it should open the build work zone. So all these settings you can do. In the trial account, you are not allowed to change all the settings. Yes, of course, but in a productive account, you will be. Then comes this channel manager. So channel manager will tell you where all the sources from where the tiles and apps will come to build work zone. So the default channel manager is HTML5 apps. These are the applications which are deployed on SAP BTP. Like for example, if you create build app, yeah, you created a small mobile application with build app and you deployed it on BTP. You want to integrate that with build work zone. Then you have to come here and use this HTML5 provider. Yeah, so you have to click refresh button so that all the applications can be imported and then you can use them. So that is HTML5 apps resources. So we will come back to this in the future. So it's a provider from where you import your applications. Then you have content manager. The content manager will actually allow you to create groups and catalogs. So basically how you want to design your build WorkZone site. So you can create groups and catalogs for that. So we will be also doing that at later point of time when we have couple of workflows and processes or apps, then we can utilize and we will see how to import them, how to configure them, how to group them. That we will see at later point of time. Then finally we have site directory where you can create site. In the trial account, you see it's a trial account. You are only allowed to create one site. Only one site you are allowed to create. So let's do that. I click here and I call it as default. You can name anything you want. Suppose I want to, hypothetically, I'm working with the company Anubhav Trainings. So I can say Anubhav Training site. I can give that. So click on create and you see the site is created. And now I can change the settings for the site. For example, do I want to user to allow to personalize? Do I want user to change theme? Do I want user to change language? All these settings I can on, switch on and switch off for my site. Yeah. So that is what we can actually do. So that is a very simple site which we created over here when it come to build work zone. And right now this site will have nothing. Yeah. To be very honest, this site will have nothing inside at the moment in the system. So I can just save it. I don't have anything. And then we can test this site. It's an empty site. So to test it, we click this button. So it's pretty much an empty site. So this is the link which you will give to your users. So once we add some build apps or business processes, ultimately this is the link which all the users in your company, those managers, those clerks, those vice presidents and CEO and the CIO of the company, they will be given this single link. And this single link will show them ultimately all the apps, all the tiles here for all the different apps. They will come as a tile. So it's a single entry point for all the business applications, whether they are built with coding, no coding, or they want to take action or use the business processes. Look at that. So now this is the link of the site which I will be sharing with Ananya to log in, and she will enter her email ID and password to log into BTP account, and she will be able to see this build WorkZone site. Now you can also see, since I will right now not have any application deployed, I will not get options to the manager, the content manager and content manager, so that I can manage the content, which we will do in the coming sessions once we build some build apps or CAPM applications or build processes. At that time we will learn how to integrate those build apps, processes and CAPM application and Fiori applications with the build work zone in the future. So that is the setup of SAP build work zone and SAP identity management service, and establishing a trust with our account and successfully accessing the SAP build work zone service, as well as creating a default site. Thank you once again for joining this video. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, happy coding and goodbye.